Okay, welcome back everybody to Property Nirvana, where we interview one of our latest and greatest supporters and partners of the real estate investment community. I'm Brian Carmody, co-founder of Property Nirvana, here with John Matheson, my co-founder, and our guest today is Nathan Miller, founder of Rentec Direct, a property management software company that's been around for, well, he'll tell you, but it's been over 10 years, which is a long time in this space. So we're eager to hear about what brought Nathan into the space and how he came up with the solutions that we think are pretty stellar and have made a lot of people's lives a lot easier. So, which is what software is supposed to do, right? Hey, Nathan, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Brian. Glad to be here.
So so Nathan, tell us, you and I have talked before, and before we dive into the software specifically and Rentec, you started it as, you were, I think, a computer programmer, and you were investing in real estate on the side, correct? And is that
Yeah,
how you kind of evolved?
yeah, that's kind of the short summary. We back in the late 2000s, I was actually working for an internet provider, and during that time, doing internet service, learning how to develop. I enjoyed that a lot, and that company got me into investing in real estate. I earned enough to buy my first $30,000 piece of property. Kind of started there. Bought another piece of property, and eventually, over a period of 5 or 6 years, had enough property where I was managing them all myself because I couldn't afford property management. That 5 to 10% you pay property management was just too much for me, so I was doing it all myself. And with those properties, once I got to around 5, 6 properties, it started becoming a lot of work because I had a full-time job, and to also be able to handle the maintenance, keep track of who's late, and manage all those tenants and all the data involved in it so I could, file taxes at the end of the year accurately, became a lot of work. So what I did is, through my prior career, I taught myself how to develop, and I just knew based on that experience that I could just write a program. I could write a program that would make my life a lot easier. Of course, this is around 2007 we're talking, and first thing I did, as I know to tell you, go see if a program exists already. And so I did that. I searched all over. The internet was widespread at that point, and looking for a good online software that could manage these properties for me. And I searched high and low, and the internet was my business. So I knew how to find it if it existed, and it just didn't. There was no software out there that met my needs as a private landlord, and my cost structure. What I could afford as a private landlord either.
Yeah.
So yeah, I decided that, I'm going to go ahead and write something. I'm going to make it, use myself as a model. I've got this many properties. I'm going to write software that's going to help me manage those. And while I'm at it, I'm just going to make it so anyone else can use this software as well. So I just built that in a system so anyone else could use it. And sure enough, a couple of years later, there was hundreds of people using it, and kind of that's the very beginning, the origin of where Rentec Direct came to be. It wasn't necessarily something I was purposely trying to do. I wasn't trying to create a company. I was just trying to create a program that helped me and others like me, and then it blew up.
Great. That's so cool. So tell me about you say, manage the properties, but break it down for people. What was kind of the minimum viable functions that you needed to take care of?
Probably back then, the top things were who's paid rent on time, and
Yeah.
who's late. And I never had the heart ever to charge someone a late fee if they're paying on day 6 instead of 5. But as you have properties long enough, you have to follow whatever the agreement says. You just have to do it. Otherwise, day 6 turns into day 7, turns into day 10, turns into a month late. So keeping track of who owes what, who's late. Maintenance was a big deal for me back then. What needs to be done. I can't necessarily afford to fix everything right now, so I have to keep track of every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
Easy to do with 1 or 2 properties, but when you start having 7 or 8 properties, there's a lot to keep track of. And I think the other thing that comes to mind is at the end of the year, everyone talks about shoeboxes of receipts, and I never had that big of a mess, but the same kind of thing is I had a lot of expenses and I didn't have the discipline to keep track of all those expenses throughout the year to be able to file my taxes easily. So when, the end of March, beginning of April came around every year, I just have this conglomerated mess of everything that I had to put together so I could file taxes. So making that a breeze for me by creating that record keeping system, those were kind of the top challenges back then.
Mm-hmm. I saw one of your customer testimonials too did talk specifically about taxes, which made a lot of sense. She said it's a breeze to file taxes, and that alone, she said, should be enough to capture anybody's any investor's attention. She's not lying. It's a big deal. So
it is.
That's great. So actually, while we're talking about testimonials, there's one of the testimonials I thought was really interesting, and I wanted you to comment on it. The gentleman said, I love Rentec Direct because it's so, I don't need 1,000 features that I'm not going to use, and I just want it something simple. I don't want it to take forever to learn how to use it, and I want it to be quick and simple. So, which makes a lot of sense. But then I look at your website, and there's a lot of features, right? So really my question is, talk to us about how you think what goes into offering a ton of features, but making the user experience feel like I'm not overwhelmed. This is simple. I can get from A to B real quick on what I need to do.
You bet. And I would say that's one of our core principles here is keep it simple. It's been that way from the beginning when there was, maybe 3 features in the system. And now that there's 3,000 features in the system, it's still one of our core principles. And the best way I can say that we make that happen is that I'm directly involved in the development of every feature that goes into the system. And if we are redoing a page, for example, maybe we're remodeling it to, look better. My goal is always, let's make, while we're doing this, how can we turn these 3 clicks into 2 clicks or 1 click best? Okay. Everything always needs to get simpler. Unfortunately, back then when we started this, the web technologies were pretty thin. Web technologies didn't have a lot as much as they have today. But today, with all the web technologies, what you can do in a web application, we have so many more capabilities, be it like a context menu or all the JavaScript and CSS features that you can do today, to where you have those capabilities to make an application that might otherwise be complex normally on the web a lot simpler, because you have all these features that are more application-y, if that makes sense. Back in the old days, you would write a program on Windows or Mac, and you have all these features like menus and stuff that didn't exist in the web world until recently. And so we're making use of a lot of those modern techniques in order to keep the application simple, get to the task, be able to do the task quick, and learn it easily. So definitely our core principle: keep it as simple as possible.
That's great, because then obviously the more features you have, the more people you can attract into the program, but everybody's there for that, whatever brought them in. Maybe they'll pick up a few other features. Nobody hardly ever uses 100% of what software can do, right? That's just always been the way. And,
absolutely.
But yet they feel simple.
It's a tough balance to maintain, I would say. Is we want it to do everything everyone wants it to do, but since a lot of people only need a small subset of features, we only want those features available to them. So another way we've accomplished it is breaking the application into 2 pieces. We've got our pro product for landlords, because the landlords don't need everything the property managers need. Being a property manager is a complex world. You got trust accounting, you're dealing with all the accounting for all those owners, and that's a whole layer of complexity that the landlords, or the apartment owners, that use our software, they don't need all that complexity. So it's not even there to add that layer of confusion.
Right. Beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So why don't we just go through some of the, just so that the listeners really start to get a sense of what Rentec Direct does and how it's broken down. So it's we talked about the problem you solve, which is basically, if I can, if I can, I guess simplify it for you, it's basically helping landlords and property managers become more organized. Have it all in place. But you're doing a lot of things in there. In addition to that, like tenant screening and credit and criminal checks and all that is built in. The professional website you give each owner too. So like maybe talk about a few of those things. Publish vacancies online to 20 plus popular rental websites. Like talk about some of those things. Probably the later enhancements that you've done that have really kicked it into a new realm of function.
Yeah, you bet. And every one of those came from user feedback, and we've got now years and years of those features. But yeah, you mentioned tenant screening. Every property manager and every landlord, they need to pick good tenants for this vacancy that they have. And traditionally, it was really complicated in order to get a background report on a tenant, especially for private landlords. Property managers usually have it figured out, but private landlords didn't have easy access to that information for a long time. So we were one of the first software companies that made that instantly and readily available to landlords so they can make a decision. It's almost always been instant, it's within about 60 seconds. So they can make a decision on this person who came in and filled an application within 2 minutes. All their competitors, might take, 2 or 3 days to complete that process. So that's a huge competitive advantage that we wanted to be able to offer our customers. Another one that comes to mind is online payments. Just the fact of, being able to offer your tenants the ability to pay online through an app. We have a Android and iPhone apps or a website tenant portal to be able to schedule those payments, ideally on an automated schedule, just to make rent payments a no-brainer, no hassle. And we did that, partly because, tenants wanted it, but also to help save landlords from using alternatives that they might turn to. And I still hear it today. It's 2022, and I still hear landlords with 1 or 2 properties, they're collecting rent over PayPal or Venmo, and they don't understand the dangers in doing that. And fortunately, Venmo and PayPal, I think just recently, within the last couple months, just changed their policies, and they're charging everyone 3% to receive those payments. So that's deterring the landlords away from it. But prior to that, a lot of landlords were having problems with chargebacks. They evict a tenant, the tenant goes to PayPal, says, hey, I didn't authorize all these charges. They'll go back 6 months. 6 months worth of rent's a lot of money. And PayPal always sides with the consumer. They're like, okay, no problem. Here's all your money back. And the landlord has to fight tooth and nail to get their funding, if they ever do. They usually don't out of PayPal or Venmo, those services. Yeah. So these, that's just 2 of those features, but they come because our users have just requested, like, hey, this is a pain point for us. Can you help us solve this? And we get 2 or 3 or 10 people that might request something, and then we go to work on it and make it happen. What else did you mention there, Brian? The syndications.
So the website and the syndication of the vacancies.
Yeah, so that's a huge one. The most important thing to do as a landlord or property manager is get those vacancies filled. Every day that place is vacant, either you or the owner you're managing for is losing money. It doesn't do anything if it's vacant. So we devised a solution like to get the maximum possible exposure for a vacancy. And it started, way back in the days with simplifying, helping them put a Craigslist ad, because Craigslist used to be king of rental vacancies. So we helped there, and then sites like Zillow and rentals.com and the whole RentPath family, they all came along. And as those popped up, one of the first things we did is we contact them and be like, hey, we want to be able to directly transfer this data to you. So when one of our customers puts their property information in our software and a tenant moves out, making the place vacant, we want it on your site right away so they can get that exposure.
Excellent.
Nice. Really integrated. Talk to me about, help us understand a little bit of where you kind of draw the line on the different types of, I guess you call them subscriptions. There's Rentec Direct Pro, and then there's, just talk to us about a Rentec PM. So one's for property managers. Okay, that makes sense. One for landlords and investors. So are those, I guess maybe paint a picture of how those are used either in conjunction together, where like if you have a single property, would you have a property manager using Rentec PM and the investor having Rentec Pro?
It's yeah, those are designed for. So Pro is designed for the landlord who's managing his own properties. He either has a bunch of single families, or it might be a apartment building, and it's a corporation owns the building and they rent out all those apartments.
Okay.
But anyone who's renting properties on for themselves generally would use our Pro product. It's a little bit cheaper, and it only has the features necessary for self-management.
I see. Yep.
On the other side, you have the PM, stands for property management, adds in all that trust accounting functionality, which is more complex, but it's a complexity that property managers are trained and they understand because they're managing all those funds on behalf of other owners. It adds in, a lot of extra features like being able to automatically calculate their property management fees. Being able to distribute the funds to the owners. So there's a lot of automation built into the system. So it takes the rent in minus the property management fees, minus any other expenses, and then it fully automates that distribution process. So with a couple clicks, they've got a screen that shows here's all your owners, here's exactly what you owe each owner. And you get to review it and look it over, but it's as simple as clicking that submit button, and it does an ACH transaction to every single one of those owners to give them their funds.
Okay. Really nice. And in the mobile app, let's talk about the tenant side for a little bit, like the kind of how they use it. So they can do that. You mentioned that they can pay that way. Maintenance requests, can they submit maintenance requests and stuff, notifications that way?
Absolutely. Those are probably the two main features. Those are what tenants need to be able to do, is pay their rent and report problems. So both of those are built into the app. Paying rent, they can do a one-time payment. They can schedule payments to happen automatically, say on the 5th of every month, it just pays rent. And then for maintenance requests, it's as simple as you take your phone out, you take a picture of whatever the problem is. If you can, you report the issue to the property manager, and that shows up right in the property manager's interface into their list of open work orders.
Nice, I get it. Okay, and you talked a lot about your US-based customer service team too. So tell us how they get involved. Are calls coming in for help with just training or onboarding with the software, or what are they usually helping with?
Yeah, we help from onboarding, getting people going. That's the big, heavy upfront investment we put on the customer service side. Is we'll walk someone through every step of getting all their properties in, getting their tenants connected, and collecting rent the first month. All the way through to down the road, you hire someone new, they need a little extra training on the system. We're here to help with that. But really, we're here for any question that they have. And what we find ourselves doing is being not just supporters for the product itself sometimes, but a lot of our people here know property management. They've done property management in their past, and we get a lot of questions about what's a good way to do this. How can I handle this situation? And we can't always give legal advice or anything like that, but since a lot of our team has done it in the past, they know that process and they know how to do it in our software, so they can guide someone through the easiest way to accomplish a lot of tasks. So in short, we do it all. And we do it all right here in this office here in Grants Pass, Oregon. Everyone comes into the office, they work about 100 feet away from me, and they're all trained here. They come in here every day, so we're able to really keep a good, tight control over quality and just having good, fun people to work with that enjoy their job.
They are fun, and I think it kind of starts from the top, because I went to your About Us page, which I got to recommend everybody to go to rentecdirect.com and go to their About Us page. Believe it or not, it's actually a fun read, and unlike most companies. And what I love what you guys did is under each person, you show your whole staff, or what I presume is your whole staff. There's a bunch of people there, and everybody gets to put in a quote that they want to, I guess, live by or describes their personality. And Nathan, John, I don't know if you saw Nathan's, but his quote is from Sheldon Cooper, who is part of the Big Bang Theory.
I saw it.
Hilarious. Love is in the air.
Yep.
Wrong. Nitrogen, oxygen.
Wrong. Nitrogen, oxygen. Yeah, I remember all that. That's great. Yep.
So it starts there because I read that one first, and then I just scrolled down the page, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I see a few other really funny ones in here too. Like Kevin in Client Success says, not everything that you read on the internet is 100% accurate, and he attributes that to Abraham Lincoln, very wise president. Travis, who's a hacker, says the Earth is just too small and a fragile basket for the human race to keep all its eggs in. From Robert Heinlein. Kind of
I like the one who was in there who had the quote from Abraham Lincoln about the internet. I started laughing. That was terrific. Yeah. That was good.
So what's this job title that you have in there, Nathan, for hacker? You've got like 4 hackers. Are they?
Yeah, those are our developers. You know, it's the old school term for a software developer, and we like to keep things fun and humorous around here. We have. Every month we have a dedicated game, you know, it's like a competition we play, and almost all the staff joins in on it. So we're big into games. We have rewards. We joke around. I can't count the number of times I've come in and my office door is somehow like blocked off by something, be it like caution tape or like red Solo cups have been a big one lately where they're stacked all the way up above the door. And kind of the fun thing is, can you get in without knocking them over?
Yeah.
Yep. The answer's always no.
Yeah.
They always knock over. It makes a huge mess.
Yep.
But you know, we have I mean, there's a number of pranks that go on around the office, but I mean, really, we're about having a good time. We've been doing this like 12 years. We all know each other really, really well, and we're like this little micro family down here that enjoys being together. We enjoy our customers. We enjoy the product, and I think that's important. I come into the office every single day and enjoy so much working with all of our staff and doing this. It makes me happy to come into the office, and people always are like, wait, you enjoy what you do? You're kidding. Do you really enjoy what you do? Like, what do you do on your birthday? I was like, I go to work on my birthday because I love going to work. That's the favorite thing I want to do. So it's a good time. We have a lot of fun. Our website shows a little bit of that.
That's terrific. Awesome. What's next? What does the future hold for Rentec Direct? I mean, is it, and I just mean in general, you know, do you plan to roll out more features, or is it really just, you know, keep up, you know, the market leading customer service and that, you know, that very intimate, experience when you pick up a phone and can talk to somebody there and so forth? How do you get better from here?
You know, you can always be better. We get amazing ranks on our customer service. People comment on it all the time. We got a ton of rewards downstairs in our library, all of our customer service awards, and I love all that, but it doesn't mean we can't do it better. We're always working with our departments to like, how can we do a little bit better this month than we did last month? Even if we're doing really, really good and our rankings say, you know, we're getting 5 out of 5 on everything. I want to get 6 out of 5. I want to do better because we always can. So we'll continue doing that. Our customer service will always be here. I've worked for companies that have outsourced their customer service, and I've called so many companies where you can tell that the customer service is outsourced and they're not really connected to the company. And I don't enjoy that experience, and I always want to be able to supply a level above that. And so I always plan on doing our customer service here.
That's cool.
So that's from customer service side, we're going to keep excelling there. From the software side, you know, you think a program, you know, there's 100 features it needs. Once you hit that 100 mark, you've got it done and you're done. You have everything. Just is never the case. We have a list right now of 300 improvements that we want to do to the software. And, you know, a year ago, we also had 300 improvements we wanted to do the software, and yet we've knocked out 100 of them. So that means we've had 100 new ones. So there's always something new and cool that we want to add to the software, and ways we want to improve the software to make our clients' lives easier. We're going to keep, we actually just finished a huge remodel of the software. We started rolling that out at the beginning of this year. Everyone has access to it now, and that was a huge push that took us a little over 2 years to do. And that's modernizing the software, taking all the same tools that we've had for all these years, modernizing them, bringing them into the all the current web technologies. It also looks a lot better and works better on more devices. And probably in 3 or 4 years, we're gonna be doing that again. It's just something you're always a constant evolution of making it better and more useful for everybody. Awesome. So we'll keep doing that.
Yeah. John's shaking his head like crazy because he
knows
exactly what you're talking about. I think I told you about his company, his Leverage, and between the two of you, you guys cover quite a timeline in the investor's life. John with Leverage is there for the investor to at the front end of the deal, giving them a chance to get ready, to get bank ready, for their investment property, and to make sure that the numbers are going to get approved and so forth. And then you take them post purchase, where they have to manage it now.
Well, I'm grinning ear to ear here, Brian, and I've let you, because you do such a wonderful job of featuring the company, that I wanted to make sure Nathan was able to get all that in, because our audience needs to listen clear here, because they all knew this was coming from me, right? Is when you get a tool like this that's in front of you, it's like when I tell the origin story of my first cell phone mounted in my Jeep in 1991, as I show my age again, right? That made my life so much easier. And when you have a founder who has actually, met the criteria of what any software developer will tell you about a founder. If you sit with any one of them, they'll say, well, do you have expertise in the field? Right? For Nathan back in 2007, yes. Have you identified a need that people between 30 and 65 have? Well, yes. And it's just so, and then he built it himself, right? And then he adds team around him to make it better. And we all talk about, MVP in our software, minimum viable proposition, which he cleared years ago. And now he has 300 more things to do to make it even better, which, as he said, that list will grow. But for all of us out there, and you all hear me talk about, you have to get prepared to go see the lender. If you want to be able to walk into the lender in control, and you want to use Leverage, you have to feed information to it that's accurate. All of that information is coming out of Rentec, right? It's all in there. And he's created a software for the landlord. And if all of you landlords listening to me, you want to use this, because it's going to make your world easier, whether you segue for financing or managing your company. And then all you landlords using property managers, my property manager needs to be on this, because that's how I control them. I love, Nathan, what you were talking about, the automated features of the property manager feeding in the information, and then I get the information from them. I don't want to necessarily use their software, right? I want to use the third-party software to make it so that there's that layered function between me and the property management company still. So I love that stuff. I'm gonna ask my normal fun questions, Brian. So Nathan, when you started, right, how did you fund the company?
I love this one. So Rentec started as a hobby. There was no outside funding. The very first thing I needed to be able to start this company was having a server online on the internet, so I could put the software I'm writing onto that server. So I bought some old used Dell servers and co-located them at the internet company that I worked for. I think it was about $300. That was my total upfront investment, plus the $20 to buy the domain. And that was it. That's where Rentec started, was from that $320.
Isn't it fantastic? I laugh because my first investment property, when you said it, I almost came unglued. I bought for $30,000, and you said the same thing. We were like in the same era, right? So it's so true. If you have the idea and you have the ingenuity and the passion, you don't necessarily need a ton of money to get started. You do need a lot of breaks along the way, and you do have to have your business plan down. You've obviously stuck with it. You must like it, right?
Love it. Yeah, this is
Yeah.
a fun business to be in.
Fantastic. And you know, Brian, for our audience and for the leverage audience, fantastic product. And now they get to meet the team and Nathan, who are putting it all together and serving them all day. I don't see where they can go wrong with this.
Well, you know, while you were talking, let me pull out one other thing, just to put a different perspective on one of the benefits too. Is, you know, we were talking earlier about the tax preparation benefits, right? But you know, just talking about what leverage does reminded me that actually those are also the same benefits that you can use to go and buy your next property too. I mean, I can see how the organization that Rentec provides you can take that organization and then take it to go file your taxes, or you can take it to your lender to go and buy the next property and the next one and the next one. So it really does help you, you know, more than just doing the stuff that we have to do, which is file taxes. It actually can help you do the stuff we want to do, which is go buy more properties and grow the real estate empire, right?
Yeah.
Very cool. Just got to think about it that way.
Modern tools that make our world simpler.
Yep.
How many times do you have to listen to me say that?
Well, and not everything does that. That's why we get so excited when we find, you know, one like this that does. So, hey, this was awesome. Nathan, thanks for your time, and thanks for letting our listeners know more about, you know, Rentec and who's behind it. And I think it's going to be perfect for Property Nirvana, the community, and, you know, like John said, as many people, you know, you owe it to yourself to go and check this out. I mean, you know, one thing we didn't talk about was price, but I've got it pulled up here. I mean, folks, it starts at, looks like $35 a month. This is not expensive software. I mean, for Rentec Pro. Is that, did I read that right, Nathan?
Yeah, that is where it starts. Get up to 10 properties.
Yeah.
You know, price has never been a problem for us. It's this is literally one of those applications that saves you more money than it costs you. Yeah. And it's one of those things I tell people. It's one of the fun things I say. If we're not saving our clients more than 5 times what it costs them, then we're doing something wrong. I always want to be at that benchmark. So price, yeah, does start pretty low. It's pretty easy.
Great. Yeah. So I wanted to just mention that before we wrapped up. I'm sure everybody's always wondering, well, okay, so what does it cost to get into it? So we're just talking about $35 to manage up to 10 properties on that one plan. So that's pretty good. All right. Well, again, John, thank you for your input and questions. That was awesome and fun. And Nathan, we definitely got to see you again. This is a good
Sounds
time.
good. It was great being here. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Nathan.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.